clear enough and you can hear, you can reply me. Somebody, yes? Right, Natasha. Okay, thank you. So, uh, so in the physical class, I have some new students. Who are the new students who need the tute? You have your one, right? You also have, right? So, right. Okay. So the online guys, you can get the tute from the website, or else I'll ask them to share it again in the chat. Right. Okay. Right. So last week we started unit one, right? So you know that is the smallest unit, and it is about introduction to biology, and it gives some basic idea about what is biology and what are the scope deal with the biology, right? So what we discussed about there are some three main branches of biology. What are those? And microbiology, good. And there are some main areas: cell biology, histology, anatomy, physiology, biochemistry, genetics, and ecology, right? So then we started discussing uh, the issues. There are some issues which are related to biology, right? So in that, first we discussed about the biodiversity, right? So what do you mean by diversity? Yes, biodiversity. Now give me the definition without looking at the note. Yes, variation of, yes, the variety of bioorganisms and their interactions, right? So that is called the biodiversity. And there are three types of biodiversity. Sir, the details of today's meeting was not published on the website. right? So, Asad, today the link is the link on the class is shared in the what do you call it, that common group in the WhatsApp group, right? So as this is a still this is a free class, I think it's not uploaded in the website, but you have the link in the WhatsApp group, and also the tut is uploaded here in the chat, right? So if you have any questions, please let me know. Right. I hope all the online guys can hear me. And right. Okay. So we were talking about three types of diversities. What are those? Yes, loud, loud. I can't hear. Species diversity. Yes, Sudha, come. Species diversity, genetic diversity, ecosystem diversity. Right. You have the note. Right. So we started discussing part of unit 1 last week, and we are in the middle of that thing. Right. Okay. Right. Right. So you have three types of diversity: species, genetic, and ecosystem. What do you mean by species diversity? Sorry? Yes. The variety in between species. One species is different from another species, right? Every species on this earth, right? Bioorganisms, this species is different from one to another, right? So that is called as species diversity. And within the same species also, the individuals are having a variety differences. That is called as genetic diversity, right? And the third one is ecosystem diversity, means in the world you have different types of ecosystems. So the organisms living on those ecosystems have a difference, have a variety. So that is called as the ecosystem diversity, right? Uday, if you miss the previous one, I'll teach you those things. Eh? Right? You Akmal, right? Last week you joined online. Right. And then you know those, right? Right. So then we talked about the understanding the human body, right? So we want to have a healthy life, longer life. So therefore, we want to get rid of diseases, and we want to have a very healthy life without getting diseases. Therefore, we should get an idea to prevent from the diseases, to treat the diseases. We should get an idea about the whole body. So therefore, we are learning about 9 systems, right? So then, right. Then we learned about what? Natural resources, right? Sustainable use and management of natural resources, right? So what are natural resources? What do you mean by natural resource? It's either a material or energy which is freely available in nature, right? Naturally available, number one. That is number one point, right? The energy and the materials natural, which are naturally occurring. Number two, which we need them in our day-to-day life. Number three, they have some economic value, right? Okay. So then we are that is a natural resource, right? So why we are discussing about sustainable use? Why we want to manage the natural resources? Because the human population is increasing, but the natural resources available are limited. Therefore, if we overuse the natural resources, they will be not available for the future generations, right? So that is why we want to manage it very carefully and leave them for the future generations also. So that management, that carefully handling is called as what? Sustainable use and management. Yes, hello. Come. Right? That is called as sustainable use and management. So if we do not manage the natural resources sustainably, what will happen? You can have three adverse effects. What are those? Environmental pollution, very good, desertification. So number 4, we discussed about the sustainable use of foods. What do you mean by sustainable use of foods? Definition? Yes. Production of sufficient amount of food, not only production of foods, right? Yes. Now the human population is increasing, so we want to feed all the human population. So we want to produce sufficient amount of food for those people, right? What is the human population on Earth? According to the book, 7 billion, right? So still, I think uh, recently a president in Mexico, you see that she has written a letter to Donald Trump regarding this tax implementation in the US, right? So in that letter also, did you see that? No, right? In that letter also, she's mentioning, Mr. President, please note that, please remember that outside of your bridges, outside of your wall, there are 7 billion wait looking at you. So there also human population is mentioned. That is why I remember, right? Those are interesting news, right? So when you are learning, don't be in the biology field only. Don't be in the textbook, right? Sometimes you read what is happening in the Sri Lanka, what is happening in world, right? Okay, right. So production of sufficient amount of food, number one. Number two, for human population. We are talking about production of
அப்ப வந்து குடுக்குற குடுக்கு ஓடிடுறேன். யாருன்னு பார்த்தா
three.
இந்த சக்கரவர்த்திய
How
எப்படி
many
உட்கார்ந்து
will
இருக்காரு.
produce that?
அப்படியாந்து என் புஷ்பம் வைக்கிறேன் முடிச்சு கொடுத்து போவேன்.
Five,
நான்
six,
சொன்னேன் எப்ப முடிஞ்சா புஷ்பம் வைக்க முடிச்சு
seven.
கொடுத்து போவேன். அதெல்லாம் ஒண்ணு வேணா நீங்க போக
Ultimate,
அனுப்பிச்சேன். கரெக்டா சக்கரை நான்
the
கால்
environment should
ஆஸ்பத்திரி
not
வந்தேன்.
get polluted because of this
ஆஸ்பத்திரிக்கு வந்தேன்னா
food
அது
production.
கரெக்டா என்னப்பா துரும்பா இழைச்சு போயிட்டு என்னை பார்த்து காமெடி பண்ணுங்க. மாமா என்ன சொன்னாலும் என்கிட்ட கரெக்டா கூட்டிருந்தாங்க.
Right. So when you join the online class, right, be careful and try to maintain your self discipline, right? Don't disturb others. So this is a important class and this is not for you to play some games, okay? Right. Okay. Somebody has left. Right. Okay. Right. So how you are going to produce that food? What are the three methods that you are going to use? production of high yielding plants and animals. Food means plants and animals. That's all. That's all what we eat. No, either production of plant or production of animal, right? So we eat either plant or a animal. So we produce high yielding variants, right? And number two, those plants and animals should not get diseases, otherwise they will die or they will get ill and we don't get the enough crop, right? So therefore, we want to produce disease resistant ones. And then after the harvest is taken, we want to protect the post harvest, the crop for a longer time. So we use post harvest technology for that thing, right? So if we do not do that, we won't be able to produce enough amount of food, right? So understanding about the plant life, because plants are the primary producers on this earth, right? If there are no plants, no energy, no carbon, no food for the heterotrophs, right? So we want to understand their function, their structure for what? To produce again high yielding plants and disease resistant plants, right? Okay. So that is the point that we stopped, I think. Is it so? Right. Okay. Yes. Is yes. So we completed that, no? No? This is yes. We did it, right? So what you do is right. Why we need to understand the plant life? Because for the sufficient food production globally, right? We want to have a good idea about their structure and function. Then only we can produce the high yielding variants and disease resistant variants, right? Okay, right. So next we'll move on to the next topic about understanding diseases, right? So what we are discussing is number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. What are those? These are common issues, right? Common topics in the global format, in internationally, which are directly related to the biology, not to the economic, not to the national security or the global security, right? Nothing about that. These are the topics. These are the issues. These are the the things that they talk in the global forums, which are directly related to the knowledge of biology, right? Okay. So number 6. So we are talking about 7 issues, right? Number 6 is Pute. Number 6 is about the diseases. Why we want to know about the diseases? Hmm? Why we want to know about the diseases? Again, I told you that any organism, right, especially the human beings, has main two expectations in your life. What are those? You may thinking about having a handsome boyfriend, having a nice girlfriend, and get married and build a nice house and get a luxurious vehicle and become a doctor and put your stethoscope here and right. So other than those dreams, every organism, every human being has two basic requirements or expectations, either with their knowledge or without their knowledge. What are those? Very good, right? So anyone don't like to get a illness. So everyone want to have a healthy life. And do anyone like to die early? Do you? No, no one likes. So we want to live long. So have a longer life without any diseases are the basic wishes or expectations of human beings. Now, to achieve that target, right, We want to get rid of these things, diseases. To get rid of diseases, right? We want to study and have a very good idea about the diseases. Now, if you talk about the diseases in the health systems in the world, right? In any country, we have two main targets in managing the health sector, right? What are those two targets? Number one is to prevention, right? To prevent from diseases. What is the other arm? Treat for the diseases. What is the difference? Here, prevention means before you get the disease, we are trying to prevent that thing. Treatment means after you get the illness, you treat. What is most important? Prevention is the most important. But still, even in the most developed country, what we are mainly focusing is this one. Why so many hospitals are there? For the treatments. Every hospital in Sri Lanka, in whatever the country, the main part is to treat after you get a illness. You go to the hospital after getting a disease, no? Otherwise, you don't go and visit like going to Nuvareli, or you are going to a park or going to a hotel and going to a film theater. Likewise, you don't visit the hospital, no? People come to us after they get the illness, right? So treatment part is the main, has become the main part, because until then people don't care about that. But there is a prevention part also in the health system. Now, who does this prevention part in Sri Lanka? Now, here you have the hospital, and various type of doctors are there from the OPD. Various types of wards are there: surgical ward, pediatric ward, gynecologs, right? Surgery, likewise ENT, IN, so many, rheumatology, gastroenterology, cardiology, neurology, oncology, so many subspecialties, right? And who does this prevention part? Who is responsible? Have you heard of doctor who is responsible for prevention part? There is. Every house in Sri Lanka is under his control in prevention part. Hmm? Have you heard of this person? MOH. Who is MOH? There is a doctor in each, usually the subdivisional parts, right? The secretary of division, that is called as, right? So there you have a doctor called MOH. Have you heard of MOH? No, right? So when in dengue prevention, right? So he has a team under he's the leader, and he has the PHI, midwife, and all the team is there. Right? So they go and see whether you have the mosquito breeding places in your house, and if they have, they put a case in the uh, courts. Have you seen, right? In the quarantine part, in the corona prevention, right? All the thing is managed by the MOH. MOH means Medical Officer of Health, right? So once you become doctors, you can select whatever the place. You can become a doctor in the doctor in hospital, or a doctor in MOH. You have in MOH area, you have two doctors, MOH and AMOH. What do you mean by AMOH? Assistant Medical Officer of Health, right? So the senior doctor is the MOH, and the junior one becomes the AMOH. So both of them are managing this all the prevention part and the antenatal clinics, right? All these things are done by him. So basically, the health system of a country is managed by these two arms, right? So what about the diseases? If you talk about the diseases that you have, right? There are two types of diseases. Some are communicable diseases. What do you mean by communicable diseases? That disease spreads from one person to another one. And there are some diseases which do not spread like that. Those are called non-communicable. Non-communicable diseases. NCD. Right? So what is more dangerous? Examples for communicable diseases. Sorry, Pute. Dengue, yes. Influenza, COVID, AIDS, very good. But is AIDS important in current days? Is it a common disease among communicable diseases? Yes. Kandy is a very high risk town, still spreading the AIDS, right? Especially among homosexual individuals, right? And that is in homosexuality, the individuals are more common in getting these sexually transmitted diseases, right? Still, as far as I can remember, the highest risk town is Anuradhapura. Second is Colombo, and third one is Kandy, right? Because of this tourism and all these things, and various types of prostitution, spas, and all these things will spread a lot of diseases in AIDS, right? So those are diseases which spread from one to another. So what about the non-communicable diseases? Examples: diabetes, heart disease, ischemic heart disease, cancers, kidney diseases, chronic kidney disease. What do you mean by, have you heard of hypertension, pressure? Pressure, right? So that is hypertension, asthma, yes, and stroke, paralysis. Patients getting paralyzed either left side or the right side. The medical, the lay term is paralysis. The medical scientific term is stroke, right? Gastritis, all these things. Right? So these diseases, they do not spread from one to another, right? If Akmal is having hypertension, what is your name? Rishine, right? She's not getting the hypertension from him. But if he is having influenza, we all can get. Right? So what is more dangerous? Hmm? Hands up those who take communicable diseases. That's hands up. Oh, all. All are wrong. Right? Most dangerous is non-communicable disease. You know why? If you take the death list globally and locally, right? Majority of the people about 70 to 75% of the people die because of common non-communicable disease. They die from heart attacks. They die from cancers. They die from hypertension. They die from the strokes. They die from the complications of the diabetes mellitus. You name why now. Try to recall the deaths of your known ones and the relatives of elder group, right? They die. Most of them die. Very rarely we hear a patient die from dengue, and that is a news. But if somebody dies with hypertension, then the news says, there is a person, 59-year-old patient in Akuran area has died from hypertension. Ah, wow, that's the news. No, that's not the news. Because majority of the people are dying because of these things. So your intention, your focus should be there on this one. Because we die from this. These things, other than these AIDS, right? Most of others can be prevented, can be cured. But this one, no cure for these things. What you can do is just to control. Can you prevent? Can you cure completely diabetes? Usually, no. At the very early stage, if you diagnose, if you change your lifestyle, if change your food pattern, change your physical exertion, then you can go about 5%. Yes. Because the more dangerous means majority of the population get caught to this one. Number one. Number two, majority of the people die from these diseases, not from this one, right? So if you take the world population, number one risk is the ischemic heart disease or the heart attacks. So that is the most commonest cause of death. People die from heart attacks, not from war, not from anything, not from. But this was changed in 2020 and 2021 because of the COVID-19. Only in those 2 years, this became the second commonest one because around 495,000 or some odd number, 4 lakhs, nearly 5 lakhs of people died from corona. Only in those 2 years. Other than those 2 years, these are the commonest cause of death. People die from this. That is why that is most dangerous, right? Yes, Sudha, come. Right? So that is why this is more dangerous. You got it? Did I answer your question? Right? Now, but this is a news. You very still we are caring about eh, prevent him from dengue, prevent him from influenza, prevent him from something like that, right? But this one, we individually get exposed to this thing because of various reasons. Why do we get all these diseases other than this asthma? Asthma is usually coming from genetically or else because of air pollution. You can get it. Right? Other than that, because of our habits, daily habits. Number one, food habits. We are not taking safe foods. Though we take now, the majority, yes, yes, that is a one part, right? So part of there are some reasons, several reasons for diabetes, like several reasons for kidney disease and pressure and all heart disease. Also, there is some genetical part in each of these one. Cancer also you have a genetical part, right? Some genetic relation is also there, but in addition, now these are all multifactorial disease. That means for the occurrence of these diseases, there are multiple factors are responsible. That is why we call them multifactorial diseases. Now these are some Now, what I'm talking now is something more related to the medicine, right? Not for your biology, but it is interesting. Better to know these things as biology students because your relatives and family members will you are doing biology, Pute, what is this thing and what is happening in this thing, right? Okay. So what I was telling now, because of our bad habits, right? We are very like to have this to fried rice, sausages, meatballs, and all these things. Right? That's the one part. The second one, though we eat rice and vegetables, are they safe enough? No, they are. Now, these farmers and all these people and our agricultural people allow them to put lot of pe- weedicides and pesticides and some of the artificial fertilizers which are not safe for our health. So because of consuming these things, right, we get diabetes, pressure, and kidney disease and all these things. So solution is Sri Lankan people should get to uh, people should adapt to a system. But I never think that for the current situation, still whatever the government comes, we don't have such such sort of system. But in India, they have India, right? For example, India, they have some regulations in applying the weedicides and pesticides. That is why they are not having such amount of NCDs in that country. But Philippines, Pakistan, Sri Lanka, Nicaragua, all these countries, Uganda, and all these countries, right? We don't have that sort of regulation. Right? We can bribe any official, right? And put whatever the thing. We don't have a food safety, right? And we are a country that we take milk powder, the milk. You you I know that 95% of you also take in the morning tea, which is made up of milk powder. Highly carcinogenic. That is the main reason for cancers in the gastrointestinal system in your gut. But still we promote higher Nuanati, Ratti, Arki, Megi, Anka, and all these things. We don't have a regulation. Have you seen at least in any foreign European film, American film, or UK film, they are making a tea by dissolving the milk powder? Or they take the fresh milk and pour it and get it from the refrigerator and they drink it. Only the fresh milk. Right? That is why there is a mafia called this uh, milk powder. Right? So food safety. The other one is the exertion. You should have good, sufficient amount of physical exertion during your day life. Now, as medical officers, now we get up from the bed and from the getting ready and having the breakfast and get into the car to the hospital from the chair, looking the patients in the clinics, right? And at night again coming back, have a wash, and do we have any physical exertion? Only the mental pressure. You have to see more than 170 patients in one clinic, one patient in left side, and when he get up, right patient, right? So like guys, huge pressure, right? And no exertion. So what will happen? So the doctors will get ended up in all these diseases. So therefore, at least half an hour per day, even if you come back home at 11 before sleeping, 11 to 11:30, we do some physical exertion. Otherwise, we can't live. We are dead then. Panduka Mahamito has died, right? So you are also from your age, right? Now, when you may think that you are doing now A levels. Yes, you have to sacrifice your life for these 2.5 years because these 2.5 years will decide your whole life, as I always telling. So these 2.5 years, you should have a balanced life, right? Allocate half an hour for your playing, if you play cricket or football or badminton or whatever the thing, or have a jogging. Girls also can do them some badminton playing or whatever the thing you should do, because you should become healthy people before you become the doctors, right? So focus on that, right? So these are the two types of diseases, and more dangerous ones are the NCD because people, majority, 80% of the people die from these one. That is why it is more dangerous, right? Okay, so that is about diseases. Shall we complete the what? Right, online students, if you have any questions, please ask me. Did you get it? What I discussed about the diseases? Where are the guys? Natasha, Rachini, right? Anishana, yes, sir, right, okay. Right. Farella Paris, I think she's from Nigambo, right? Anishana, right, okay. Right, so get the note and understanding the diseases and causes, right? So I hope online guys, you have the note, uh, you found the note from the chat, right? So in page, what is the page number? 10, right? Page number 10, right? So understanding diseases and causes. All of us want to have a healthy life. In order to maintain that healthy life, we should have the knowledge on causes of diseases and their effects, right? So diseases are divided into two categories: non-communicable diseases, non-communicable diseases, non-communicable diseases. Examples: cancers, heart diseases, diabetes, chronic renal failure, hypertension, strokes, and all these things. Right. So, what happens in heart attack? In lay term, you call heart attack. Right? That is what the community speaks on. The medical term is ischemic heart disease. Right. So, what happens in heart attack? What happens? Now, heart is a pump. It's a muscular organ, right? It acts by the contraction and relaxation of the heart muscles, right? And those muscles also need a good blood supply to get their needed energy, the glucose, and to excrete that thing, right? The waste products, right? So the oxygen and energy is supplied by the arterial system. Right? So if you get a blockage of those arteries which supply the heart, that is called as a ischemic heart disease. So you don't get enough oxygen because the artery is blocked by a clot, blood clot. Right? So there is heart attack or a ischemic heart disease. What do you mean by stroke? In stroke, what happens? The same thing happens to an artery which supplies the brain. Right? So brain also need oxygen and glucose. So if some blockage happens in an artery which supplies the brain, then part of the brain. So you have two main arteries, right? And if right side artery is blocked, your brain's left side gone, right? So likewise, you get a stroke like thing, right? The same pathology, same mechanism happens in heart, that is heart attack, happens in the brain, that is stroke, right? So the other one is the communicable diseases. Communicable diseases. Communicable diseases. Asad has asked a question: can heart attack also be called coronary thrombosis? Yes. Now, heart attack is the lay term or the common term which is used by the common people, non-medical population, right? The medical term is ischemic heart disease, and the cause for the disease, right? Cause for that thing is called as the coronary thrombosis. Right. It's like this. Right. You have the heart like this, and this is the muscular part. These are the atrials. Here you have the ventricles and the atrias, 4 chambers, right? So this muscular part is supplied by arteries, right? So you have divided branching system, the arteries which supplies the oxygenated blood to the heart muscles, right? Now this is the organ which supplies the blood to the whole body, right? That's okay. That's from the aorta, right? So here, from here, you get the aorta, and from that thing, you supply the blood to the whole body, to the brain and everywhere. But that one, that organ is also needing the blood, no? So that originates from the aorta and it supplies the heart muscles. So if you get, now I'll enlarge this thing. This is the part of this coronary artery, right? So if you get a blood clot like this is called as thrombus, right? That blood clot is called as thrombus, and it has various types of blood cells, and especially the chylomicrons and the cholesterols, right? Cholesterol are very responsible for making this thrombus. That is why we ask you to reduce your cholesterol level, do physical exercise to minimize these things, right? So assume that about 90% of this one is occluded by this thrombus, and you have about 10% here. Assume that small clot which originated somewhere else in a distant place in the arterial system get dislodged and comes through the blood and from the ventricle, from the aorta, and it comes like this. And that 10% type very small clot is enough to occlude this one. So it comes here, and it's like you make a plug, right? So what happens? Finished. This artery is completely blocked. So at this place, if it's blocked, the heart do not get blood. At that instance, you get a severe pain. And if it is a major artery, you can die itself, or if it is in a branch, if you admit the patient within about 2 hours time, we can give some medicines to dissolve this one. You have the tenecteplase, streptokinase, heparin, these types of injections at our hospital, right? So you inject them and you can save the life. So that is a, if anyone of your relative or known one get a chest pain, severe chest pain, right? Don't wait applying these oil and siddha and all these things, right? You should rush to the hospital, right? That will save your life, right? Irrespective of the age. Nowadays we are experiencing the myocardial infarction or the heart attacks, right? In very young age, sometimes 25 to 35 years of age. Now recently, a member of parliament died in Kegol in NPP in the government. Have you heard of? Last week, died. His name is Kosala Bandar. Right? Died. He's a new member of parliament in JVP. His age is 38. Died of heart attack. So this is so dangerous. So uh, this artery is called the coronary arteries, right? Coronary means supplies the supplies to the heart. You have the coronary arteries, coronary veins. So if you get a thrombus in that sort of artery, that is called coronary thrombus. So this is the reason for the myocardial infarction, right? Okay, Asad? Right. So communicable diseases are the dengue and the AIDS, right? So you have cancers. Cause for this is not fully understood yet. One of the leading cause of death, AIDS, serious viral disease, global health problem. Now, for AIDS, you know the reason. It is the HIV, human immunodeficiency virus, right? But cancers, do you know the exact cause? You know the risk factors, Pute, right? Now, if you are a smoker, it's a risk factor for lung cancers, but that is not the only cause because non-smokers are also getting the lung cancers. Different types of cancers have different types of reasons or causative factors. For example, the lung cancers more prone to get in smokers. Mouth oral cancers more prone to get the people who chew the beetle, Vitakanae, right? Likewise, right? And uh, the cancers in GIT, gastrointestinal system, more prone to get who get these instant foods. Usually, there are some people who do jobs in Colombo, in Candio, in urban areas, away from home. So morning paratha, noon the what do you call fried rice or biryani or something like that. In the dinner again, kottu and all these things. So and milk powder, right? All these things can from sorry. Yeah, yes, yes. Now you will learn this how the cancer will get in the same unit. You are going to learn about the cell cycle. Now we have a life cycle like thing, and also cell has a cell cycle. So usually the cell cycles have a control from one point. The cell division stops, right? So that is a automatical control of our body. That is why after about you become 20 years of age, your growth is ceased. No, you become 40 years, you 10 feet, and 50 years, 70 feet. No, you don't grow like that. So we have a limited growth, which the plants don't have, right? Plants are growing. If the age is 100 years, still growing. But animals, we have a control, right? So cancer means simply that control is lost in one place, in one cell. So they, without control, they are growing like that. Now, if I get a ulcer here, now dog came and get a 100 grams of my muscles, right? So I get a wound ulcer. So I am applying the medicines for about 1 or 2 weeks. This slowly growth, the damaged part, lost cells will regrowth by the rapid cell division in the muscle cells. And once it reaches the skin level, it automatically stops. It's not growing like this, no, like a horn, no. So that is the automatical control. Now, cancer means, Pute, that control is lost. If a cell in the lung lost that thing, you get the lung cancer. If a cell in a breast of a female, that control is lost, you get a breast lump, breast cancer. If that control is lost in a cell in the ovary, you get the ovarian cancer. If that is lost in a cell in the uterus, garbhasha uterus, you get a uterine cancer, right? Like you get a liver cancer, right? In the gut, you get the either stomach cancer or large intestine colonic cancer, and those are the common places where you get the cancers. Sometimes in the brain also you can get, in heart very rarely. Right? That is what happens. So you will learn the scenario in the cell cycle. What you now for the time instance, remember that the cell division is controlled automatically by some checkpoints we have in the cell cycle. We have checkpoints, so we don't allow them to grow further at that level. So that is why the liver is in that size, kidney is in that size. They don't grow like this one. When you get 30 years of age, 40 years of age, they are not growing now. So why? You have a control, G naught control, right? So that is lost in a cancer, and then they start dividing, and you get a massive lump-like thing. And if that cell is spread to another organ, the cancer originate in that organ also, right? Okay. So heart diseases, uh, serious health problems worldwide, and causes are not fully understood. Yes, and chronic renal disease is also a common one, right? Now, see the causes of death list in WHO 2019. I took the 2019 because 20 and 21 mentions about the COVID-19, and after then 2024, it is almost similar to this one, right? But it was not published yet, 2024 values, right? So see, now don't, now this is all these the list of diseases are given here to understand by you that non-communicable diseases are the most responsible ones for the death. Don't by heart this list, right? They don't ask. This is not in the syllabus. Right? This is inserted by me, right? To get you understand that. Now see, the most common one is the ischemic heart disease or the heart attacks is the global number one death reason. Number two, stroke, getting paralysis. Number three, chronic obstructive pulmonary disease means at the end of the asthma, the lungs become non-responsive and it's become like fibrous tissue and you can't breathe, right? So you die of without having oxygen, COPD. And the most common reason for the COPD is the smoking, and sometimes the air pollution of these coal miners and some traffic policemen who are frequently exposed to dust and these lead particles of the vehicles, right? They also get this COPD, right? Lower respiratory tract infections because of pneumonia like thing, neonatal conditions, right? That means the newly born babies get heart deformities and brain deformities and various birth deformities. So the trachea and the cancers, Alzheimer disease, diarrheal disease. So see, the diarrheal disease is the one which is communicable disease, has come to number 8. Right? Still people die from diarrhea. Why? Diarrhea is not a disease. It is a symptom of either gastrointestinal infection or whatever the thing. Right? You get fever sometimes. You get diarrhea. Sometimes the food poisoning or something. If you get a kottu from whatever the place, you get diarrhea. So still people die, not the adult ones. Majority are the small children. Why? This is an important thing that you should know. Why people still dying of diarrhea? Reason for diarrhea? Why they die? Because of diarrhea means you have the loose stools. You have a frequent, every 5 minutes or 10 minutes, you have a pass of bubbles with watery. What you lose? You lose your water in your body. So you get dehydrated. Your blood volume get depleted. You don't get enough blood volume for your heart, brain, and everything. So you die without having blood volume because of dehydration. So what is the treatment for diarrhea? Is it the is it the drug or not? Anything? What you have to do is you have to replace the fluid loss. Ideal one is the Jeevani or king coconut or whatever, the coconut water or whatever the thing, or at least water. So you have to replace the water, replace the fluid, then you can save the life. But what our idiot mothers are doing, the baby is diarrhea, so they come to the medical officers and say, right, doctor sir බලන්නකො sir මේ බබාට diarrhea යනවා in every 5 to 10 minutes he's passing stools. Therefore, even I even if even I give you any a small sip of water, Still the baby is having diarrhea. Therefore, I didn't give anything. So mothers think if you give water, that water is going from there. Therefore, you do not give water. So whatever. If you are having diarrhea, you have to replace more than that. More than that. Usually, an adult, if you have diarrhea, for one bowel opening, you have to replace it with 150 ml of water plus, right? More than 150 for one bowel opening, additional, right? In additionally, you have to take 2.5 liters per day. So that is the normal fluid requirement for adult, 2.5 liters, right? So if you have diarrhea, in addition, you have to give 150 ml per each bowel opening, right? So diarrhea, now tell your family members and the friends, right? If anyone is having diarrhea, number one treatment, give fluid, give fluid, give more and more fluid. That will save the life, right? Okay, right. So diabetes and kidney disease, right? So that is finished number 6, right? Number 7. This is the last issue that we are going to discuss about the issues related to the biology, right? Solving some legal and ethical issues, right? This is not so common, but very interesting and important ones. Now, sometimes there are some court cases, right? A person comes to the court and claims that this child is not mine. My wife has slept with another guy, and this child is his, not mine. So, what the poor judge say? Look at the face of the child and face of the culprit. Yes, no. Is from. Can you tell? Can you give a judgment like that? No. So you should have now the judge is asking for the medical help. Can you sort out this problem? And DNA technologists and the biomolecular physicians are involved in that case, and they analyze their what DNA fingerprint. It is called DNA fingerprint. Right? So you analyze the DNA patterns of the mother and the child and the father and the poor culprit sometimes. Right? So analyzing all these things, and you compare the genetic material, the DNA fingerprint of the child, whether it is now it is always related to mother, that's okay, right? And the fathers and that neighbor's DNA is also compared and give that judgment. This child is not your, right? This one is. So those are called parental issues. Parental issues, right? Sometimes the other way round is also happening. Now you have there are some cases, right, like this. So you have a guy and he claims that my father is that so-called multimillionaire. So I also need a part of the heritage, part of the property or the wealth from that guy. So he goes to the courts claiming that my father is not father who is there at my home, right? He's that one. You get a name of somebody, right? So then what? Then again goes to the DNA fingerprinting, biology, and there are some common cases. Still some so very popular uh, characters paying the amount of living, and they have to give their wealth, the part of the heritage that they should get because of this biology fingerprinting, right? So parental issues, number one. Number two, they can ask for these criminal in criminal cases, right? In murders and all these cases, rape cases, especially rape cases. The rapist is identified by the DNA analyzing of the sperms and all these, if he has laid the blood or the hair particles, follicles, right? So you analyze and you can give a clear judgment that this is the person who has raped this girl, right? In some uh, multi rapist involved rapes also, right? So you can identify all the criminals by analyzing the DNA patterns. If they are usually leaving some cells over with now. If you have some quarrel or fight between the rapist and the girl, right? Sometimes in the nail beds you have the skin particles of the rapist, so you take those ones and can go for a DNA fingerprinting in criminal investigations, right? And also in uh, immigration disputes, right? That means now if somebody has got caught in Japan, right? Usually Sri Lankan people go and they rob the vehicles and put into the various parts and they import here, right? So if they got caught in very old age, what they did is they cancel the passport and send them back, and they are again going from a different passport, right? From a different name. Now their DNA fingerprinting and the iris image, the image of your eye is taken, right? So they are black marked, and if you again go to Japan with whatever the name, you all of the people who go to the Japan, they have to face for this eye scan. So they detect and they can get all these red bulbs are meow, 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 right? They are silencing and they can detect. So uh, then therefore that also you need the biology, the iris reading, right? So the biology knowledge is used in the immigration and immigration disputes also, for parental issues, for criminal investigations, and for these migrating cases, right? So that is how the biology knowledge is involved in solving the legal issues. Okay, right. So that is the last one, right? Okay. So knowledge and application of biological concepts are important in solving some legal issues. DNA fingerprinting is used in below circumstances, right? So number one, parenting, parentage testing, parentage testing, parentage testing. Number two, in criminal investigations, right? In criminal investigation. Number three, to solve immigration, to solve immigration disputes, to solve immigration disputes, to solve immigration disputes, right? Okay, right. So those are the seven topics or seven issues which are related to the biology, right? That part is finished. Okay, we'll go to the next one. So next one is a small chapter that they are again describing you about the variety, about the variety among bioorganisms, right? So we talked about the variety, about the differences in the biodiversity, right? So in the biodiversity, we talked about biodiversity means every organism is different to another one. So every species is different to another species. That is species diversity. And within the same species, every individual is different. All all of us are in the same species. I hope so. There are no donkeys and cows here, right? So still, all we are human beings, and we have. Are we similar? Oh, we. Everyone has a unique features. So we are different to each other. That is called as what diversity? Genetic diversity, right? And the people coming from the European ecosystems, when you go to the candy, you have the European people with good body build and white skin. And if African people comes here, right, they have a different. So different ecosystems also having different types of organisms and varieties there. Now, now you know that there is a variety, there is a diversity. Now, in what parameters do we have this variety or the differences? Right? What is the difference? In what parameters? What are the things that you use to measure the differences? One thing is the size, right? For example, bacteria are so small, right? They are having only one cell for the whole body, and that cell is also very small, in between 1 to 5 meters. And there are some organisms which is very large. Take an elephant, right? Trillions of cells are there and very large. You take a large tree, the redwood iron, right? And its height is about more than 100 meters, right? So there are lot of differences according to the size of that organism. That is the size, right? And then shape. Shape of the organisms are also different, right? You take a platyhelminthes worm, they are flattened. And you take a nematoda, they are cylindrical. You take a hydra, they are cylindrical, right? You take a human being, we are bilaterally symmetrical, right? We have the equal left side and a right side. So likewise, and you take a fish, they are streamlined, right? You take a bird, or that is also streamlined, like right? So you have differences in the shape also, right? And in the form. What do you mean by form? Some are unicellular, like bacteria, protista, right? Some of the fungi. So they have only one cell in their whole body. And some are multicellular. They have thousands and millions and trillions of cells. Right? So it can be a unicellular or a multicellular organism. And number 4 is their habitat. Habitat means where do they live? Some live on land, terrestrial. Some live on water, aquatic, either fresh water or in the sea water, marine water. Some live on trees, arboreal, right? And some live in air like birds. Okay? So depending on the habitat also, they differ to each other. Right? So these are the 4 basic parameters that we use to identify the differences in between each and everyone. Size, shape, form, and the habitat. Right? That's all. So you have an idea about that these things we consider when we understand and when we study an organism. Right? That's all. Okay. Right. The next important part. Right? Now I told you, right? This is very important. These, right? These things. Right? Sometimes they can ask a MCQ or a small part in the SCQ, structured execution. Right? Did I tell you about the exam format on the first day? How your paper comes? No? Shall I give you an idea within about 5 minutes? Right? It's better to have. Now you know what you have to do in the syllabus. How many lessons are there? 14? 10. Right? So you have 10 lessons, and we are going to finish the first one today, right? And you have 2 years for that. So we are 2.5 years, but we are finishing. We are planning, and we should finish before 2 years, right? So we have about 5 months to go for a rapid revision. And how this exam comes in 2027 August, right? So your exam comes like this: biology paper. You have two papers, biology 1 and biology 2, right? In biology 1 paper, they are asking MCQs, multiple choice questions. How many questions are there? 50 questions. And how many options are there for one question? 5. In O levels, you had only 4 and 40 questions. So in A levels, 50 questions, and each one has 5 answers. You have to select one from 5, right? And this every MCQ question will give you 1 mark. So you get 50 marks from MCQ, right? 50 marks out of 100, right? MCQ, sorry, biology 2 paper has again two parts, A and B, right? A means in the A paper, you have structured essay questions, right? That means in number 1, you have A, 1 question, 2 question, 3 question. In the B, 1 question, 2 question. Small questions, expecting small but accurate, to the point answers, right? So in the HCQ paper, you get 4 structured essay questions. So one comprises lot of subparts. About 2 pages are there for one, 2 or 1.5 pages are there for one SCQ question. So usually you have about 6 pages for SCQ paper. And one question will have how many marks? 100 marks, right? So how many questions that you have to answer out of these 4? All 4 has to be answered, right? So 4 into 100, you get 400 marks, right? So you get 400 marks. So you don't write anything other, no? Right. Now in the essay question. In the essay question, how many questions are there? 6. Good. And out of these 6, how many you have to answer? Not 3, Putta. Out of this, you have to answer 4 questions. So you have a chance there. You can select the most confident 4 questions, right? And you have to answer a very good, competitive, sorry, complete and to the point answer, right? Sometimes one question will carry about 35 to 40 points are expected. So each point will get 3 to 4 marks, and you get for one question you get 150 marks. So for the four questions you get 600. Right? So from the part 2 you get 1,000 marks. This is how the 1,000 comes. So you have to compress this 1,000 into what? into 50 because 50 is taken from here, no? So how to get 50 from this 1000? It is divided by 20. Right? So you get 50 marks from the part 2. Right? So this is how the exam, this is the format of the exam paper. Right? So if you correctly mark one MCQ, you get 1 mark out of 100. Each question carries 1 mark. Right? To get a 1 mark from the part 2, how many marks you have to take? 20. To get one, to collect 1 mark, you have to write for 20 marks here. You have to write and write and write and get it. So what is more dangerous? If you lose one here, that accounts for one. If you lose 20 here, that accounts for one. If you do not answer a part which is worth 20 marks in this one, you lose only one. But if you lose here only one question, that will lose one. So therefore, your main target should be the MCQ. I'm not neglecting this one, all right? At least you should complete, you should collect more than 45 from here. Then only you have to take about 40 from here. That is 800 marks. So you get 85. You can go for a rank, right? Not for a A. You should target for a rank, right? So if you miss one question, that is 0 mark for that particular question. But in medical faculty, it is the other way around, right? When you go to the medical faculty, if you incorrectly marked one MCQ, what happens? That minuses from a correct one. So it carries minus marks for the incorrect one. Why is that? Because the doctors can't make mistakes. If you don't know, that's okay. You leave it. If you mark an incorrect one, that will count -1, right? But not for the A levels. Huh? You can mark the 51, and if you wrongly mark 5, that means 45. But in medical faculty, if you wrongly mark 5, that means 40. That is minus another 5 goes, right? So this is the basic pattern of your exam, right? Okay. Do you want to write this one? No, no. Right. Okay. Right. Now, another important thing. I told you that everything on this earth, what you can see, what you can touch, everything can be divided into two broad groups. What are those two groups? Living and non-living. One thing is the living part and the non-living part. So this comprises the earth, right? So everything on earth is made from either living part or a non-living part. So what is the difference between the living and non-living? If any small kid, if we give an example, they will tell this is living or non-living. If we give a iron rod, if we give some water or material, right? So they will say that is non-living. And if we give a cat, dog, fish, bird, they will say that these are living one. So what is there in living? You have the life. So if you have life in living things, you have some specific features, specific features of living things which do not have in the non-living things, right? So they are known as special characteristics of living. You have to know what are those characteristics which are unique for living organisms and not available in the non-living things, right? So now we learn one by one what are these special unique characteristics. You have 7 characteristics, right? What you have. Okay, right. Starting from the first feature of organisms. The first one is the order and organization. Order and organization. What do you mean by this order and organization? Now I told you every organism is made up of either one cell or so many cells. You take whatever the organism, they are made up of cells. So that is why cells are considered as the basic unit of life. The structural and functional unit of life is the cell. Why? Every organism, you name whatever the organism, every organism is made from either one cell or so many cells, right? So you take the organisms who are made from so many cells, millions and billions and trillions of cells. So when they take, when you take this multicellular organism, right, and a collection of individuals, collection of species, all this biosphere is made according to a nice organization pattern, right? And there is a order of collecting of cells. For example, consider about the human beings. Now we have trillions of cells, right? So all these trillions of cells is not arranged like a cell of, it's like a load of sands or cement or, right, a load of rice. It's not, I'm not a packet of cells. So I have so much of cells which are differentiated to different functions, and they are made from cells, they have made different tissues, right? So different tissues has made different organs, nice differentiated organs like heart, brain, kidneys, liver, pancreas, uterus, ovary, testis, right? Likewise, there are some different organs are arranged by the cells. And then you have organ systems, central nervous system, immune system, cardiovascular system, respiratory system, excretory system, gastrointestinal system, endocrine system, skeletal system, likewise, right? So you have different systems. So one cell, if you have one cell, that's all. So if you have so many cells, they are arranged in a nice pattern. So this quality is there only in bioorganisms, in organisms. You don't have this type of collection in sand, in stones, in water, in air, in fuel, right? In sunlight. No, you don't have this type of organization pattern, right? So this is the number one feature of bioorganisms, which differentiate from the non-living ones. So you are having a order and a organization pattern. Understood? Clear? Right. So that is the number one. Number two. Now, in bioorganisms, Pute, right, you have so many reactions occurring in every second, every moment. So many reactions, about thousands and thousands of reactions are occurring in your body, in any bioorganisms. Some of them are called as anabolic reactions from your O-level knowledge, and some of them are known as catabolic reactions. And all of these are known as very good. Wow, metabolic reactions, right? So these metabolic reactions are there only in bioorganisms. No metabolism in non-living stones or whatever the thing, right? So what do you mean by anabolic reaction then? Now tell me. Very good. Making complex molecules from simple ones, right? For example, right? Is it example? Yes. You have simple carbon dioxide, simple water molecule, and you make a complex carbohydrate called glucose or monosaccharide. What is this reaction? Photosynthesis, right? So this is anabolic. What do you mean by catabolic? Not synthesize. You break down the complex molecule into simple one, the other way around of this one. This is catabolic. The glucose is broken down into carbon dioxide and H2O. So what is this reaction? Very good. This is the cellular respiration, right? So for this one, you need what? You need energy. So energy is needed for anabolic reactions. From where do they get energy? From the sunlight. So the light energy is used by the plants and they make complex molecules like monosaccharides from simple molecules like carbon dioxide and water. So this is the anabolic reaction. In catabolism, in catabolic reactions, what happens? A complex one is broken down to simple one and you release energy. That stored energy in glucose, which is stored from the light energy to a chemical energy. Now, respiration means itself we want to grab that energy. So what we do is we break down this thing into small ones and we take that energy and we produce ATP for our functions. Right? So I am talking, I am writing, and I am walking here and there, and everything done from this one. So that is why you take food, eat, and cellular respiration happens. That is why I am walking and talking, and all these things are done by grabbing that energy which was stored in the glucose. Right? So this reaction is a catabolic reaction. So these type of anabolic reactions and catabolic reactions are happening only in living organisms. So the collection of these two are called as metabolism. Metabolism, right? So number one, order and organization. Number two, metabolism, right? Number three, growth and development. What do you mean by growth? What do you mean by growth? Now, when you were born about 16 years ago, what was your size? It was this much. And your weight, 2.5 to this, your weight, you know, in between 2.5 to 3.5 kilograms. Now you are grown, you are tall more than 5 feet, and your weight is more than 50 plus, right? You know my weight, I'm 90, right? And which is I'm a bit shifted to the obesity side, and not the obesity. So if my weight is high, there is a, though I regularly practice, do these exercises, but still I have to wait, reduce some weight, right? So your weight has increased with the time. That is called as growth, right? So growth means irreversible increase of your weight. You have a adjective for that weight, your dry weight. You should increase your dry weight, right? Now, when you go home today after the class, Akmal was attacked by, Akmal will be attacked by several gang of people, and they hit with the stones and all these things. And Akmal suddenly becomes my size because of edema, right? You get edema because of these contusions and all these things. Is it a growth? No, it's not a growth. Why? Why? It's an increase. His size has increased. No, that should be a growth. No, why it's not a growth? It's reversible. When he was admitted to the hospital, and within about 2 to 3 days, he get back to the same size. If you get a wasp attack from Tigiri Odamulla, Bambaru Iddot, what happens? Suddenly you looks like sumo uh, player, right? With Chinese eyes and all this, you become a ball. Is it a growth? No, because it is reversible. So growth means, Pute, irreversible increase of dry weight, which cannot be reversible, and your dry weight, when your water part is removed, your dry weight should be increased. That is growth. What is development? Yes, irreversible increase of complexity, somewhere there. In develop, when you get developed, what happens? You have a change, right? You have a change, which is irreversible, right? Now in butterfly, the larva becomes the butterfly mature one. So that is irreversible. The butterfly doesn't come back and become a larva again. Larva doesn't become the egg again, right? So development means from stage to stage, you change your structure, your function, your behavior. Everything is changed from step to step, which is unreversible. Now you attain the puberty. You know that you become the puberty, you get mature, you get the adult features. So the boys get adult male features of muscular body, V shape, right? Hair growth in the face and the the limbic areas and all these things, right? So that is a change. That is a development. Do you go back? No. The females get the breast enlargement and all these Coca-Cola bottle handle the shape of the these thing, ladies, right? And you get the sexual hormones and sexual maturity. So that is a development, which is irreversible. You don't go back to the small child, no, right? So development means irreversible change in life, right? So growth and development means, Pute, irreversible increase of dry weight and irreversible change in life. These are there only in the organisms, life, living organisms, not in the non-living ones. Yes, 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 yes. It's a living thing. It's a cell. It's a cell containing a haploid nucleus. If it is fertilized, it becomes a diploid nucleus and zygote, and you get an embryo and a new bird. If it is non-fertilized, still it is a cell. It is an egg cell which have one set of chromosomes. Yes. So it is a living thing. If the, the that is a that is a product of the living organism. So that is a one cell and it has the living features, right? So as it is not fertilized, as it is not fertilized, that will not develop into a new offspring. That's true. So from that, if it is fertilized, if you get a sperm from the male chicken, you get the fertilized and you get the bird, right? And if you do not get fertilized, that means that will get denatured naturally, but still it is a living cell, right? Now you take, for example, you take a female human being which is not marrying and which is not producing any kid, and he is dying by about 70 years of age. Still, she is a living organisms, right? Okay, so it's a living cell, right? So this growth, it's good, right? So ask that sort of questions, right? So now what you are asking, whether you have a soul in that or not, life, right? So life, that is the thing, that is what we discussed. You can't give a exact definition for life. What we believe in our religions as life is different, but still the scientists, they can't define the life. So what they explaining is the features of living organisms, right? And in Buddhism also, they believe that they don't have a life in it, so it's okay to eat, right? So that is their religious view, right? But scientifically, we have a cell, we have the plasma membrane and the nucleus, and everything is there. So it is a cell. It is a living organism, part of the living organism. So it is a living cell, and it can die. Same thing happens in the female body also. In your ovaries, you produce a oocyte, ovum, right? In every month. So it is taken from the fallopian tubes in the uterus. And if a sperm comes, that get fertilized and they develop a embryo, a baby, fetus. But if they do not produce, if a sperm did not come, what happens after 28 days? That oocyte, including the other cells and including the inner layer of the uterus, sheds off. That is called as menstruation. So all these menstrual cells, all these oocytes, all these, they are living. They are living organisms, right? So, what happens to this one? Eh? Oh my God, it was erased. All right, right. So the growth and development is the third feature that that is there in the living organisms, right? Number four, you have irritability and coordination. What do you mean by irritability? You are irritable. What do you mean by irritable? Some of the students are also irritable. They can't stand in one place, and you want to talk with this one, and and flute with this one, and right. So, what do you mean by irritable? Irritable means you want to respond to a stimulus. That stimulus can be a external one, right? If somebody hit me, I'm also hitting him. So that is a stimulus coming from the external, from outside of my body, and I am responding. So that is the irritability. Irritability means your ability to respond to a stimulus. Now, one of my internal stimulus at the moment is I feel thirsty, right? So that is a stimulus. So my irritability means I am responding to that. Mm. I am having a sip of water. I am So that feature, sorry, that feature is known as irritability. Simply, what is meant by that? Ability to respond to a stimulus. If you feel hungry, you go and eat something. So that is an internal stimulus, and the way you respond is you eat. Thirsty is your internal stimulus. The way you respond is you have some water, right? Somebody else is coming to hit me. I'm going to fight with him. So that is an external stimulus, and I am responding. If the bugger is very large, two size than me, then I'm going to run. So that is my response to the external stimulus, right? So irritability means the ability to respond to a stimuli. Coordination means your response. Drinking water, having food, running, fight or flight. That sort of response is the coordination, mainly done by your nervous system and also your endocrine system, right? So that feature is only there in organisms, right? Only in living organisms. Irritability and coordination, right? Got it? Okay. Fifth one is the adaptation. Adaptation. What do you mean by adaptation? Now, if we have some hot environment here, we wear some cotton shirt and cotton wear, whatever the thing, right? And we want to have a loose wear just to cover our body, and we want to. So that is how we adapt to a hot environment. And if you go to the newer area in these days, so what you are wearing ice cap and sweetener and everything and a large blanket, and you are in that sort of way. Why? You are going to adapt to that environment. Right? So what do you change according to the environment? Your functions, your structure, your behavior, all these three things are changing according to the environment. Now, usually Nuwareli people, right, in high hill country, which have very low temperature, what about their skin color? This is my observation. Dark or whitish or pale? Dark, dark like me. You can't find very fair girls in Nuwareli. Why is that? If they should very fair people know with fair skin. Why they are dark? Yes, because of their low temperature, they like sunlight, which we hate sometimes. We don't go and sunbathing like but without their awareness, this is my explanation. Without their explanation, their awareness, they're fond of being in the sunlight when we are walking in the shopping or gardening or whatever the thing that whatever the job that they do, they like to do that in sunlight because of it is a comfortable feeling for them. So that will warm up your body. At the same time, that will increase your melanocyte levels in the skin. Other way around, in Anuradhapura, you have very beautiful fair ladies there. Right? So because you don't go to the sunlight, right? So that is a adaptation. So your structure is different, your functions are different, and your behavior is different, right? In European countries, one of their favorite thing is to go to the show and have the sun bath, right? So that is a genetical thing, right? Genetical, they get sun burning if they overexposed, right? That is, and the skin cancers are very common in those countries because they are genetically the, the now you have for the same feature you have some environmental factor and a genetical factor. Now if you are exposed to sunlight, your skin get dark with a shirt, assume that, right? Now when you are doing cadetting, if you are doing cadetting, right, so you see the cadetting people when they remove the shirt, the from you can clearly see the marks of the arms, and this part is fair and the exposed part is very dark. That is because of the burning. But you have a genetical color which comes from your parents. But in their genome, they are the number of melanocytes in the skin, melanin pigment is less. That is why they are more prone to get skin cancers because of exposure to the sunlight, right? So your structure, your function, and your behavior is changed according to the challenges in the environment. That quality, that feature is called as adaptation, which is shown by the bioorganisms. So if you get this chair to Nuer area, that is same as that. You take it to the Trincomalee, it is same. So you don't see adaptation or anything from the non-living things, right? Okay, right. So that is the fifth one. Sixth one is the reproduction. What do you mean by reproduction? Producing offsprings, right? Either sexually or asexually, right? Some of the bioorganisms produce their next generation by asexual reproduction. That means no fertilization of a sperm and an egg. But majority of the animals and the plants, they practice sexual reproduction. What do you mean by sexual reproduction? So there is a fusion of mother's gamete and the father's gamete. That means an egg and a sperm meets together and fuses and make a zygote like thing. So that zygote is grown as a different organism. So production of next generation or the offsprings is called as the reproduction. So do you have reproduction in non-living things? No. So if you close this room for 3 months and we leave the 100 chairs, and once you come in 3 months, has their 100 chairs has become 200 chairs? No, they don't reproduce. But if you leave 150 girls and 50 males, In 3 months, all the girls are like this, pregnant, right? So we practice reproduction, living organisms. Why? But the non-living things, they do not, right? Last one, right? The last one. That is, right. I told you that how many years back the Earth and the solar system and all these planets born? They believe? Sorry? No, I am asking. Hey girls, I'm asking question. How many years back does this planet and solar system and Earth originated? Not 3 point. My question again for the third time. Give me an answer by the online guys also. How many years back does the Earth originated? Ah, this, this is how you get the wrong answers for the exam paper also. Origination, 3.5, you put a tick. What I am asking, the origin of Earth, not the origin of life. Right? So origin of life came in not 5 to the 4.6. Huh? Right? Uh, original life came 3.5 billion years ago. And what was the first cell looks like at the at about that sort of years ago? It was you describe three features of that unicellular one. Only one cell is there. They are prokaryotic. That means they don't have an organized nucleus. All the DNA or the RNA is just embedded in the cytosol. Right. Number one. Number two, heterotrophic. They are dependent on other organic molecules for their nutrition, for their energy and carbon requirement. So at that time, the ocean was a primitive soup-like thing. Lot of amino acids, proteins, nucleic acids were produced because of the environmental reactions of the volcanic eruptions, UV radiation, high temperature, right, lightning, and everything. Because of everything, the amino acids and all these RNA were originated from the abiotic world. That is the theory that they guess, right? So those primitive soup was the nutrition media for these first cells. So they are heterotrophic, right? And third one is anaerobic. They didn't have enough oxygen on Earth, right? Very less oxygen was there. So they produced their own ATP by using the anaerobic respiration, right? Now, after 3.5 billion years, today, what you can see, we can see large number of plant species, large number of animal species, large number of bacterial species, large number of microorganisms, large number of fungus, right? So there's a huge number of bioorganisms are now available, which majority of them are multicellular, not unicellular ones, right? So from the unicellular one up to the current day, up to today, this has a story of evolution. The single cell has undergone evolution and has made so much of plants and animals and microorganisms, and all these five kingdoms have been made. That is called the evolution. And what you can see today, the diversity, biodiversity is available. Everything, though everyone is made up of cells, everyone is different to each one. That is diversity. So the evolution and diversity is shown by living things. Living things. Right? Okay? Got it. So order and organization, metabolism, growth and development, irritability and coordination, adaptation, reproduction and evolution, and diversity. These are the 7 features which the living things are having and non-living things are not having. Very important. They have asked in several years, either MCQ or a part. They have asked part of a structured essay. Right? 4 features which are characteristics for living organisms. Likewise, they have asked about 3 to 4 features. Right? So you have to remember this. Got it? Okay. Right. Get you or not. Online guys, students, do you have any question? Are you clear with this one? Gloria, yes. Natasha, Binudi, Anishana, right? Are you clear with this one? Very clear, sir. Right. Thank you. I like that sort of answers. Right. Okay. You get the page number 12 is right. Okay. The characteristics of organisms, right? Gloria, yes. Natasha, yes. Anishana, right. Okay. Binudi, you are also okay with it? Right. Yes. Okay. Right. So the characteristics of organisms. In order to survive, each organisms must be able to perform certain functions. Right. Number one, order and organization. In order to perform biological activities efficiently, there is an order and organization from molecular level to the biosphere. Right. So they are arranged in nice pattern, nice order from the lower level when you go to the upper level. Right. So write that thing. Lower level components, lower level components, lower level components are organized. Lower level components are organized in a methodical pattern. Lower level components are organized, organized in a methodical pattern. In a methodical pattern. When you go to upper level and have made it more efficient. Example, plant and leaf, plant, leaf and human eye. Right. Number two, metabolism. Right. Metabolism means, Pute, the sum of anabolism and catabolism. The sum of anabolism and catabolism. Sum of anabolism and catabolism is metabolism, or else all chemical reactions taking place in an organism. So it is also a feature of living organisms. Number three, growth and development. All organisms begin their life as a single cell and they become developed and grown. Right? So growth means, tell me what is growth? Irreversible, irreversible. Use the word irreversible. Otherwise, hitting somebody also is a growth. Right? Irreversible increase of dry weight. Irreversible increase of dry weight. Irreversible increase of dry weight. Right. Development. What do you mean by development? Irreversible. Use the word irreversible. Irreversible change in life. Irreversible change in life span. In lifespan. Irreversible change in lifespan. So that is the growth and development. Third feature that is shown by the living organisms. Right. Number four, irritability and coordination. What do you mean by irritability? Tell in your words. Sorry? No. You missed the most essential word. Ability. That is the ability, right? Ability to respond. Ability to respond to internal or external stimuli. Ability to respond to internal or external stimuli. Stimuli. Stimuli means plural. Stimulus means single. Right? Abilities, right? So your ability to respond to a stimulus is the irritability. Coordination means the response. Remember that this thing, right? So your ability to respond is the irritability, and the way you respond is the coordination, right? So coordination is the way that organisms respond, the way that organisms respond to a stimuli, the way that organisms respond to a stimuli. This one also has asked in a past SCQ question, huh? What is irritability and coordination? So what I ask you to write in the note are the important ones. Because when you write, you can, I hope that you can remember. I expect that you will remember. That doesn't mean everything that you don't write and I have given you in printed matter is not important, right? That one is also important, right? Right. Okay. Number 5, adaptation. Now, adaptation means you change your structure, function, and behavior. Structure, function, and behavior change according to the environment, right? So adaptation is a change of structure, is a change of structure, comma physiology, structure, comma physiology, and behavior, and behavior, behavior that promotes what? Why do you show this adaptation by the bioorganisms? Why you wear these blankets and ice caps and all these when you go to Nuvarelia? Sorry? Yes, because of the environment. Why you wear? You can live without that thing also, no? Yes? For the survival. Otherwise, you can't survive. Right? So if you wear all these blankets and all these things in Trincomalee, can you survive? No, you will be mm, right like cooked a chicken like thing, right? So we show this adaptation for two things, Pute. Two things. One thing is for the survival, and then next thing, why do we survive? To reproduce, Puta. We want to reproduce, we want to survive. So we survive and we reproduce, right? So adaptation is there for your survival and your reproduction, right? So that promotes the likelihood, that promotes the likelihood, that promotes the of an organism's, likelihood of an organism's, apostrophe s, huh? Organism's survival, survival, survival and reproduction, survival and reproduction, survival and reproduction in a particular environment, right? That is given, right? So example, sunken stomata in xerophytes, right? Xerophytes means the plants which grow in very dry environments like deserts, right? So they have to prevent whatever the water available, they have sunken stomata to prevent the transpiration, right? And viviparity in some of the mangroves, right? And splayed out food in camels uh, to get rid of sunken in the sands, right? Right. Okay. the sixth one is the reproduction, right? Reproduction is, it is the ability to, right? Ability to produce offspring. Reproduction is ability to produce offspring for ability to produce offsprings for continuous existence of species. For continuous existence of species. Ability to produce offsprings for continuous existence, for continuous existence existence of species, right? Number 7, heredity and evolution, right? Heredity means, right, heredity means the transfer of transfer of physiological transfer of physiological, morphological, morphological and behavioral characters. Physiological, morphological and behavioral characters from one generation to next generation, from one generation to next generation through genes, through genes, right? So the evolution means ability of organisms, ability of organisms. Evolution means ability of organisms, ability of organisms to change, to change over time, right? To change over time, to change over time as a result of, as a result of, to change over time as a result of, to change over time as a result of genetic mutation, as a result of genetic mutation. As a genetic, as a result of genetic mutation, right? So all these 7 characteristics are very, very important. You have to remember. Now, are you clear with it? Clearly understood? Yes. Sorry? Yes. Only the genetic mutations are new genetic. Now, what do you mean by in reproduction? What happens? Mother's genes and the father's genes are the genes that are transferred to the next organism through the egg and the sperm, right? If some feature is not there in the genes, that is not transferred from the parents to the next generation. For example, assume that I go to the gym and I build this much of body, right? By doing the various exercises and doing these trainers exercises and having high protein diet. And that, will my child also become a muscular one? No, because it is not there in my genes, right? Anything that is adapted by me during my life cycle, which is not in my genes, will not transfer to the next generation. But my height my skin color and my body, that basic structure is there in my genes. So my son will have that sort of height, that much of skin color, that figure, that will be there, right? So anything in the genes will be transferred to the next generation. Okay, right. So now you remember all these 7 features. Sure, agree, right? Okay. Now you have a space, so you can write. You have written. Wow, good. Right, starting from one. Right. Number one is order and organization. Number two is metabolism. Number three is growth and development. Number four is irritability and coordination. Number five is adaptation. Number six is reproduction. And number seven is evolution and diversity. Right? Okay. Finished. Yes. Evolution and heredity. Ah, right, right. Sorry. Right. Sorry. Right. Evolution and heredity. That is how these genes give the features. Right. Okay. Right. So these are the 7 features of life. Right. Okay. Now the last part. Last part of this lesson. Now listen carefully. I told you that when you make multiple multicellular organisms and different individuals and all this biosphere, the single cell is arranged into different levels of multicellular structures in a very clear, nice pattern, nice order, right? So the way that they have become larger structures, starting from the low level, very small structures. That pattern is known as the hierarchical levels of organisms. Hierarchy. Hierarchy means from the lower to the top or from the top to the lower. Right? That pattern. Right? Hierarchical levels of bioorganisms. Right? You know how they start? They start with the biomolecules, right? In the bioorganisms, you have carbohydrates, proteins, lipids, nucleic acids. Those are there only in the bioorganisms. You don't have carbohydrates and all these things in the stones or in anything. So if they have, we could have eaten that thing, right? But it is there only in the bioorganisms. So it starts with the biomolecules, right? So from biomolecules, they produce subcellular organelles. You have heard of organelles in O levels, right? Mitochondria, chloroplast, ribosomes, RER, SCR, right? And nucleus, all these things, plasma membrane and everything, cytoskeleton, right? So these organelles are made from the biomolecules, right? So next level is the organelles, right? All these subcellular organelles organized and make a nice cell. So, cell, right? So cells get together and having a one common function, they make a multicellular structure called tissue, right? So tissues get together and they form a different nice structure for a different function that is called as organ. Organ. For example, heart is a organ, liver is a organ, skin is a organ, kidney is a organ, testis is a organ, ovary is the organ, uterine is the organ, right? So you make that sort of different organs from different tissues, right? So organs get together and they make a organ system for a particular function. Organ system. Right? Examples for organ systems: cardiovascular system, respiratory system, GIT, reproductive, excretory, immune, endocrine, all these things. Right. So different systems collect and form a one organism and form one organism. That means you produce a human being, you produce a cow, you produce a donkey, you produce a bird, you produce a cat, you produce a fungus, you produce a mango tree, you produce a grass, whatever. Any organism is made. Right. Then, what do you mean by population? Collection of organisms? What sort of? So, we have now in this classroom, we have the human beings. There are some mice running there, and you have spiders, and you have ants. And so, are all of us a population here? No. Very good. Population means number of individuals living in particular environment of the same species. So here in Kandy, we have human population. We have crow population. We have dog population. We have cow population. We have cats population. We have snake population. Likewise, population means from the same species. So you make uh, you make the population. Then in the same environment, you get all these populations. In Candy, you take the dog population, human population, monkey population, cow population, crow population, and all these things. And all the population collectively we called Candy community. That is the community. So if you want to address to a community means that means you can't address only to the human beings. You should address to the cows also, right? Population means only the human beings, right? Okay. Now, different communities get together and form the up now the Nuwara community, Nuwara community, Akurana community, Madawala community, Galagadara community, and all these people make an ecosystem, upcountry ecosystem. Trincomalee, you have a desert-like ecosystem, very drought ecosystem, right? Likewise. So communities make the ecosystem, right? All the ecosystems on Earth, right? Basically, you have the aquatic ecosystems in marine water and fresh water. You have the terrestrial ecosystem, that means on land. You have the rainforest, you have the grasslands, you have the deserts, you have tundra, and all these things, right? All these ecosystems make all the organisms on this earth. Collectively, you call it biosphere, right? So this is the hierarchical level, starting from the very small level, biomolecule level, ending up considering the whole biosphere. This is the pattern that they have organized. This is what we discussed as the first feature of bioorganisms, that they show order and organization, right? Biomolecules, organelles, cells, tissues, and all these things, right? So they believe the life starts from which steps of this chart? Yes. Say. So this is the step where you can have life independently. Organelles can't survive independently. Bioorganisms, they can't reproduce and all these things. All the features, 7 features of this bioorganisms can be shown from this level, right? Okay, so this is the hierarchical levels. This is also frequently asked, right? Okay, get your note and write. Starting from biomolecules, biomolecules, and then organelles, organelles. Anishana has asked a question, sir. Are all the cells in our body similar? No, man. If they are similar, we are like I told you that it's like a bunch of rice like this, right? Now, there are different types of cells. In the skin, you have different types of cells, right? You have the muscle cells, you have the nerve cells, you have the connective cells, right? There are so many number of cells, right? Right? There are some similar cells. If you have similar cells in one place, that is called as a tissue. Now, in the muscular tissue, for example, right, in the muscles, all the cardiac muscles are same in the heart, right? All the skeletal muscles which are attached to the bones are similar, and that is called as a skeletal muscle tissue. So in the liver, you have different types of cells, hepatocytes. So they are similar in the liver, right? So likewise, there are so much of types of cells, and same types of cells make a similar tissue, and different types of tissues make a different organ. So if you get the kidney as an organ, so in the kidney you have different types of tissues, right? So if you get skin as an organ, skin is the largest organ in our body, and it has the epidermis, it has the dermis, and they have several types of tissues, epidermal cells, nerve cells, blood vessels, right? The basal cell layer, and all these things are there. So you have different types of cells even in one organ, right? Got it, Anishana? Right. Okay. Right. So that calls the end of unit one. So out of 9, you have finished one, right? Any question from this unit 1? Don't wait until 3 to 4 months. Go and start studying, right? Start from here onwards, right? Finish all these things, right? So, any questions in online students? Now I have a message, right? So the next week is 18th Friday, right? You take a holiday, right? So next week you don't have classes on 18th Friday, right? So we will meet on 25th Friday, right? So 25th Friday you have classes, and you will start discussing unit number 2, right? From 25th. Are you okay? Right. Any questions? No. Right. Yes. How many marks? From this chapter. Usually from unit 1, Pute, they are asking only one MCQ or one part of SCQ which carries about 4 to 5 marks. Right? So they can ask core features of living organisms. They can ask about this coordination and irritability and something like that in the SCQ, right? Very small part which contains less than 10 marks. But that one MCQ still is very important, right? There are some years which they have not asked at least one question, but usually they ask only one or two, maximum two, usually one. And if you have one MCQ, you don't ask from SCQ. If you do, if they have not asked MCQ, they ask some part in the SCQ, right? Okay. Yes, Uta, right? Okay, right. So thank you, and we'll call it a day. Have a nice holiday and weekend, right? So we will meet on 25th. Don't tell your mama and there are some classes on 18th and go with your girlfriend or boyfriend, right? No classes. Don't come from your home, right? Okay, right. Thank you. Okay, Rashni, Natasha, thank you. Binudi, Anishana, Rashini, right? Okay, then have a nice holiday. Okay, bye.